Welcome back, everyone. We're here at CPAC in Florida, and we're sitting down with Morgan Zegers. She's with Young Americans Against Socialism. And Morgan, real pleasure having you on.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
Yeah, so last year, you and I, of course, spoke on the main stage here at CPAC, and the topic then was socialism as well, and you're continuing this push, and it seems the socialist agenda has moved a few steps forward. I'm curious what you're pushing back against right now.
Yes, well, today I'm here to speak in a few minutes, actually, about the left's attack on the nuclear family. And it all goes into that growing support for socialism, that collectivist mindset that we're seeing in America. And I did some research, I looked into it, and if you look at what happens at socialist conventions, they discuss how they have to get rid of the American nuclear family structure to implement socialism. It's more easy. And what they specifically talk about is how pregnancy is a tool of oppression, and that they need to free women from being, baby-making machines. And we recently saw communist China use that exact language, and so it's very concerning for me. And they say that they're empowering us, but in the end, they're really just trying to create that collectivist mindset. So that's what we have to fight against.
Now, I know a lot of socialists in this country. They call themselves democratic socialists, and they believe they're more on the economic socialist side, and they don't want to get involved in the culture. But politically, we see them pushing on this. What would you tell people who view it just from the economic side and maybe don't see how this relates to what government's doing with policy?
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions about socialism, and there's crazy numbers out there, and people get really scared when they see them. So a majority of my generation right now says they want socialism over capitalism. 70% of them, according to the most recent Victims of Communism poll, say they would vote for a socialist. 70%. And so I look at that kind of number and I say, I highly doubt 70% of my generation has even heard the term seize the means of production or nationalize a major industry. They don't understand that difference, and so they think we're going to end up like Nordic Europe. We have to, first of all, explain to them the massive difference there. The fact that Nordic Europe embraces capitalism, they have high welfare programs, or a lot of welfare programs and high taxes, but at the end of the day, they have a capitalist economy. What concerns me is that we are following the same trend of the leftists pitching that power to the people, power to the working class. We're going to have it be owned by the working class, controlled by the working class. All of that kind of language ends up leading to a situation where the government, the regime, is in control of every aspect of the economy. Individuals no longer have individual economic or financial power. You are handing all of that power to the government, and my generation also hates the system. Well, what are they doing when they support socialism? You are giving all power over your life to the system, to the government that they claim to hate. And I will say that crazy number of 70% is actually not so bad when you also consider that same group of people, only 5 to 6% of that group said they trust the government to act in their best interest. So it's all about reaching them with the truth and explaining them the definitions and the issues.
Well, I've actually seen people. I'm technically a millennial.
Yep.
I know I have friends as well who thought they believed in socialism as well. But when they start realizing that, well, actually, if you don't trust the government, why would you want the government to run every part of your life? Then it starts clicking. And it's interesting that, as you're pointing out, this isn't just about controlling economy, but not just about controlling finances. This is about controlling, even to the extent that they want to, manage the family structures in this country.
Yeah, and at that convention that I was discussing earlier, they talk about how they want to replace the nuclear family with a more surrogacy-style program put on by the government. And so women won't be oppressed by having to bear their own children. We can have a program where we have surrogates. And so if you've read The Giver, that dystopian novel, it's literally that. And the panel that I'm on today is about using the left's own words to expose them. Black Lives Matter has said they want to use community raising to raise children instead of the family. So if you connect the dots, it's quite concerning.
Well, and we can look, for example, at some of the commune-type structures like they have in, for example, Israel, where they tested these things, and actually the whole system fell apart. The kibbutz structure, right? It fell apart where they actually had family, communal raising of children and so on, because they found that women, maybe first generation socialists, they want, try this out, but afterwards they want their kids. They want to be with their kids. They don't want the kids being taken away by the party system and being raised in a way they can't even see them.
Yeah, and one of my favorite books is The Fountainhead by Ein Rand, and one of the parts discusses how you take control of a society, a group of people, and my favorite quote is, "A happy man is a free man. A happy man has no time and no use for you. So take their joy in living. Take away from them what fulfills them, what gives them purpose, what gives them happiness. And the natural sources of happiness in life are usually children, babies, family, love, relationships. And I'm most concerned because when I read pop culture these days, and I read Teen Vogue and I read these magazines that are telling young women, you don't have to be in a monogamous relationship. You can explore and do what you want. Don't worry about having babies. And it's transitioned into this concept that we shouldn't worry about having babies too early, live your 20s and enjoy your life and then have babies when you're older. Now you have AOC and the left saying, be concerned to have babies because they might die in climate apocalypse. AOC will cry in her speeches that she's scared to bring children into this world. And so it's really taken a 180 and gone from, women's empowerment and supporting women and not making us only housewives. It's done a complete way of saying, actually reject all aspects that make you a woman.
Now, I know for a lot of people in probably our generation, right, they see these narratives, they don't really look at the details, or maybe they follow the narratives and they just think, okay, that sounds reasonable. What would you tell someone when they hear this? What does it mean in practice when the government actually kind of is able to, manage the family structures? What does that mean in practice?
Well, for me, I just try and explain to people how empowering it is to be able to take care of yourself. And I think conservatives really struggle on this. Anybody on the pro-freedom side, so even just capitalists in general, Democrats as well. When we talk about numbers and statistics and all of this great stuff, especially under the Trump administration. One of the greatest examples is how we had record low unemployment levels under the Trump administration. And every time we touted those numbers, the left says, all you care about is the economy. All you care about are the numbers, and all you care about is Wall Street and the stock market and stuff like that. And it's become a joke. They make fun of us for it. And it's because we don't take it a step further and explain why it's so wonderful that we have a strong economy. When you have a strong economy, individuals can take care of themselves. They can have their own job. They are financially powerful, and they can stand up and not be oppressed or corrupted. They can take care of themselves. And those strong individuals lead to strong families, lead to strong communities, lead to a strong country. And right now, we have weak men and weak women in this country because of our culture. It's declining, it's decaying, and you have the socialist left seizing that opportunity. And one of the best ways to explain to people what happens is to just take video footage and testimony from firsthand experiences of socialist uprisings where you hear the same language and show them we are experiencing the same cycle in America, the same steps. That really, that's what I've noticed, opens the eyes of my generation.
And the irony of this is, technically when you dig into this, the conservative side is about giving power to the individual, while the real far left side coming out, I wouldn't even say classical liberals. Like classical liberals are actually probably more conservative leaning these days. In fact, most of them are.
Yeah.
Is really about, I'd say the new left is about really giving power to the state. The irony,
the
right,
system.
is it's about power to the people or power to the state, power
exactly.
to the system.
And that's what I've noticed.
People think that's power to the people who are supporting power to the state.
Exactly. And when I go out to a lot of college campuses, that's one of the hottest topics because everybody says that we are going to have a people's revolution. That's what they say. They say collective ownership, people's ownership, workers' ownership. And in reality, you are taking away all economic and financial power from the individual and giving it to the government, to the system. And that's a very strong appeal to young people to hear because, like I said, only 5 to 6% of our generation trust the government to act in our best interest. Are you kidding me? 70% of my generation would not want socialism if they understood and connected the dots.
Hey, Morgan Zegers, real pleasure having you on Crossroads.
Thank you so much.